New York trip 2019 only ended 9 days ago on Thursday, August 8th. Honestly, cannot tell you guys how much fun this year's New York trip was. It was so much better than the 2018 one, mainly due to the fact that a lot of old things from previous New York trips were brought back in this year's New York trip. And honestly, it just felt like so special. And in this week's Saturday Stories, this was a topic that was actually supposed to be done last week, but I forgot. But who cares? I'm now doing it a week later, so it honestly does not matter. And obviously, as you can see, the footage is, of course, the vlog that I made as soon as I got in New York over 3 weeks ago. But anyway, I'll be switching the footage throughout the video. But this is the first piece of footage here. But yeah, guys, you're probably thinking, well, how was this year's New York trip so special and was better than 2018? Well, like I said before, in this week's Saturday Stories, I will be telling you guys 7 things you did not know about this year's New York trip. And trust me, you will love everything I say because it was that good. With that being said, let's get into it. So as you know, the New York trip 2019 began on July 24th and ended on August 8th. So, I know, it was kind of weird to have it late this year. Like, we're so used to having it in, like, the middle of July. Well, that was last year, and then before we used to have it in, like, June/July. But no! This year we decided to actually change it up and go at the end of July and stay until, like, the beginning of August. And this is where fact number 1 comes in. So number 1 on our list for things you did not know about this New York trip, you just heard how I said we stayed until we went to New York at the end of July, officially arriving there on July 25th, and then we stayed there all the way until August 8th. Like, we left the ranch early in the morning, so it was basically we left at the beginning of August. So number 1 is, well, I just want to let you know, this first thing I'm about to tell you is, honestly, let me just tell you, the oldest tradition that we have ever done for a New York trip. And heck, it was from our first ever New York trip over 12 years ago in 2007. And this tradition is none other than being in New York in the month of August. Now, you might be wondering, like, how, like, did we even do this? Well, the reason why it is so old, the tradition, is because, remember, I just said, it dates all the way back to our first ever New York trip back over 12 years ago in 2007. So, basically, in the first ever New York trip, we went at the end of July and stayed till the beginning of August. Fun fact, I also am going to say this for the 7th and last fact. Well, actually, I'll say this as the 6th fact in our thing. But yeah, technically, in the first ever New York trip we stayed in New York at the end of July and stayed until the beginning of August. So basically, we brought that back where we would be in New York at like the end of July instead to the beginning of August. So this is where the August tradition like came in like completely. And the reason why we just decided to bring it back was pretty much because it was the only time that we could go up this year. Because if we went any time before, it would have been way too difficult. And going at the end of July this year and going to stay at the beginning of August was honestly probably the easiest option for us. If we did it any earlier, it would have been too difficult. So we brought back the August tradition from over 12 years ago, and it worked out perfectly. So yeah, we left New York on Thursday, August 8th, and came back to Florida on Saturday, August 10th at 11:45 p.m. So, yep, the August tradition was brought back from over 12 years ago, and I'm so glad we did it because we're never in New York in August anymore. Like, we are never in New York in August anymore. So, this year was the perfect opportunity to bring this one tradition back. Alright, I'm not talking about tradition number 1. Let's move on to the second fact, which is... By the way, the footage is going to change. Niagara Falls! On July 29th, 2019, we decided to recreate something from over 9 years ago. Basically, to be more, actually 100% real here, 9 years and 7 days. For those who are confused, if you watch the Niagara Falls vlog, or look down in the description of the video, you can realize how long we've not been there ever since then, July 22nd, 2010. And that was the last time we were there up until this very day of July 29th, 2019. So this is number 2 of our 7 things you didn't know. So this was the second oldest tradition. Yep, but the oldest tradition out of all was the August tradition. But this is actually the second oldest tradition. And the reason why I clarify that is because the rest of them after are actually not as old. But if you're wondering why we brought this back after 9 years and 7 days, we honestly just thought of it because we thought to ourselves, we thought, you know, it's been super long since we went to Niagara Falls, let's finally go back. And then we realized how long it's been since we last there. We looked at the date from when we last went there, and again, it said July 22nd, 2010, as the last time we went there. So we decided to think about it, and we decided, let's go back to Niagara Falls after 9 years. So what did we do? On the random day of July 29th, 2019, we went back to Niagara Falls after 9 years and 7 days. And that's pretty much it for tradition number 2. I mean, you already knew about this, but yeah, well, you already knew that we went to Niagara Falls because you saw the vlog. But another fun fact, I actually did not originally think of even making a vlog at Niagara Falls. I was just going to be there without filming, but I decided to pull out my phone and just film a video, which is the footage you are seeing right now as I am talking about this. Not kidding. Literally, the footage you are seeing right now as I am talking about this is literally the footage from the Niagara Falls vlog. Because, look, see? Niagara Falls vlog. That's literally the footage from right now. But yeah, guys. Again, we just thought of bringing back this tradition after 9 years because we just thought it was just time to go back. And that's why we went back, because we haven't been there in so long. We just, again, decided it was finally time to visit it again after 9 long years. So that's where we got the idea to do Niagara Falls. Again, due to the fact that it was been a very long time, and it was honestly time to go back to Niagara Falls. I had a lot of fun there, and hopefully if we do another New York trip next year, we will hopefully also go back to do a recreation event 10 years later. But we already did a recreation event 9 years later this year. But hopefully next year we can go back to make a recreation event exactly 10 years later. Because that would be cool. I don't know if that's going to be true or not. Maybe. Maybe. But I hope we do it again next year. This year was so much fun. And over there was Canada. Canada is literally right next to the falls right there. That was crazy. Wow. I cannot believe we saw that. Anyway, footage is about to change again as we get into tradition number 3. Or more importantly, just fact number 3. And that is something that took me 11 years to remember. And I'm honestly glad that I finally remembered it this year, because if I didn't, I would not be saying it right now. Fact number 3 out of 7 for things you didn't know about this New York trip was... Man, I'm honestly, so weird to believe that it took me over 11 years to remember this. But are you ready to hear it? This was on July 30th, 2019. And the thing that took me 11 years to remember was the New York trip anniversary. That's right. If you don't know, July 30th, 2019 marked the 12-year anniversary since we started doing New York trips in the summer. That's right. After that day, we have been doing New York trips for a yearly tradition every summer all the way until present day as of right now. This has been a yearly tradition, and it took me over 11 years to remember what July 30th actually meant regarding us. So, you're probably thinking, when did I find out about this once again? Well, I found about it again on, drumrolls please, July 22nd, 2019. My mom looked at an old planner she had from a planner from 2007, and on July 30th, when we both looked at it, we found out that that was the New York trip. And we looked previous years to know if there were any more, and nope, all we could find was the first ever New York trip was July 30th, 2007. So after we looked at that day, we realized that that was the anniversary of the New York trip being done in the summer in the first place. So it took us 11 years to remember that day. And to be honest, if you're actually curious to know if we even did anything to celebrate that day this year, I just want to let you know, we did nothing. Nothing at all. We did absolutely nothing to celebrate. The only thing I could clarify is that we just talked about it the entire day of we were just so shocked to believe to find that out. That it was actually true. So yep, we celebrated the 12-year anniversary of New York trip in the summer, and it was hard to believe. It was actually the perfect timing because we were in New York when we were celebrating it. What a coincidence! I know. How funny is it that we could be able to celebrate the New York trip anniversary in New York? How crazy is that? I know, it is so crazy to believe. But I'm honestly glad that we finally found that out. That we finally found out that that was the anniversary day for New York trips. Because before that, I completely forgot that July 30th was that day. I just only thought that July 30th was just a normal day and there was nothing special about it. But on July 22nd, 2019, as I mentioned, we finally found out that we remembered that that was the New York trip anniversary day. So, yep, that's right! Woo! Alright, fact number 4, and that is... Alright, I know this next one is not an old one from previous New York trip, but I felt like it should be shared here, as it's something we've actually never done in a New York trip before. Despite us doing the August tradition, which is the oldest tradition ever, as I mentioned in fact number 1. However, fact number 4 is actually, once again, I just said, something we have never done before. And honestly, I am so glad we did it in this year's New York trip, because I don't think we're ever going to be able to do it ever again. And that is, this year's New York trip was the first ever time that we were ever at the ranch in August. That's right, it was the first ever time we were at the ranch in August. And that ain't no joke. Any other time we were at the ranch, it was either June or July. Mainly July. 2017 was the only year that it was in June, I think. Because all the other times, it was in July. But yep, this was the first ever time we were at the ranch in August. And yeah, it was actually really cool because it was so confusing being at the ranch in like neither of June or July because we're so used to having that happen instead of August, which, yeah. This was also my first time seeing the Rock Tower in August. So yep, that was also a plus. Yep, I never saw the Rock Tower in August before, so yeah, that was awesome. So yep, this year's New York trip marked the first ever time we were at the ranch in August. For those who don't know, the ranch lasted from August 2nd and ended on August 8th, which August 8th is once again when we left New York to go back home. To be honest, tomorrow that will be 10 days ago since we left. Cannot believe it's only been this month, and it was crazy to believe. Yep, guys, this year was once more the first ever time we were at the ranch in August. I don't think we're ever going to be able to do that again because, let's face it, if we go to New York next year, which I really hope we do, if anything's not super busy, I think it's probably going to only have to be in July next year, but who cares about that? I'm honestly pretty used to being at the ranch in August anyway, because, let's face it, we've been only going to the ranch in July for probably the most of the time that we have ever gone there, so, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to tradition number 5, or more importantly to say fact number 5, and that is, alright guys, this next one, which is tradition number 5, I believe. Yep, fact number 5. Now, even though I have clearly no footage of this at all, it was probably a good thing that I really wanted to share. If you don't know, on Tuesday, August 6th, 2019, I went down to Wayland in Rochester to go check out something that I've not seen for years. Also, we brought Rowan along just to see how she would react to it. Like I said, I did not film any footage of where I was then. And the reason for mainly that is because, first off, we weren't even there that long. But we just found an old country house that I have not seen for over years. Who knows how many years, maybe like 2 or 3 years. And the reason we revisited it was because it was honestly finally time to go back there after at least a few years. But, like I said, we weren't even there that long. We just checked out how things looked a few years after we last saw it, and it looks a little different, not like completely different. Oh, by the way, while I'm talking to you, this is actually the same footage from fact number 4. Quite literally, we again just went to an old, like, country house. It was kind of like a cabin or something that we hadn't seen for years. And after we were there for, like, at least an hour, or actually, I don't even think it was even an hour, maybe like 30 minutes, we decided to leave there. And once more, you want to know where we went? You probably may have heard Rowan say this in Backyard Video, episode 451, saying this.
I ate at the McDonald's for 2 hours doing Wi-Fi stuff.
Yep. Aside from that, let's move on to fact number 6. Now this one is also probably the second oldest tradition to ever bring back. I know, I corrected myself for Niagara Falls. Make Niagara Falls now the 3rd oldest tradition we did on the New York trip. Because the one I'm about to mention is actually now officially the 2nd oldest tradition. My bad for correcting this. Well, for miscorrecting. Yeah, that's better. But what I'm going to mention for fact number 6 is this. So you guys know how we left New York on Thursday, August 8th to go back home? Well, this is huge. Because the day we left New York this year, on Thursday, August 8th, was the exact same day that the New York trip 2007, aka the first ever New York trip, came to an end. We left New York in 2007 on August 8th. Exactly 12 years later, we leave New York for 2019 on August 8th. So, we brought back the tradition of leaving New York on the exact same day as our first ever New York trip. How cool is that? Well, in this case, it was in the exact same place in New York, Rochester. In 2007, when we left New York to go back home from the New York trip 2007, we were in Rochester. The only difference was that it was somewhere different in Rochester. I think it was like our grandpa's old house in 2007. However, in 2019, we left Rochester, New York for 2019. The only difference with this tradition comeback was instead of it being my grandpa's old house from 2007, instead, we left the ranch instead. So that's the only difference with this. Yup, we left New York on the exact same day as the New York trip 2007 ending. But the only difference was instead of us leaving our grandpa's house to go back home, we left the ranch to go back home. So that's the only difference with this old tradition. And guys, if you don't know, by the way, in case you're curious to know when we actually did leave the ranch for this year's New York trip, if you don't know when we actually did leave the ranch this year, I just want to let you know, it is actually probably the earliest time I have ever left to go anywhere. 6:40 a.m. At exactly 6:40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, August 8th, 2019, we officially left the ranch for at least 11 months. So, yup, this day, like August 8th, marked a huge point for New York trips. And that is why this was the second oldest tradition to be done. And guys, there is one more tradition that we brought back. So here is fact number 7. Oh, by the way, when we left on August 8th, as you can also clearly see, there is no footage of us leave. And that was obviously due to the fact that obviously we were packing up all our stuff and leaving. So yeah, we were too busy, first off, packing up our stuff, and also secondly, cleaning up the ranch after 6 days of being there. So of course, I could capture no footage on August 8th. Which is why I made absolutely 100% no videos on August 8th, because we were too busy cleaning up the ranch and packing our stuff and going away from the ranch. So there was absolutely no footage for August 8th. I do apologize. Wish I could have, but we were too busy. And honestly, I understand that. But again, moving on to our 7th and final fact that you did not know about the New York trip 2019. And this one should probably blow your mind. A tradition from 2012, 7 years ago. After 7 long years, after over 7 long years, I went back to Washington, D.C. And also, just like August 8th, I captured no footage. And the reason for this is, I forgot. I forgot to capture footage. I know. It was my fault intended for forgetting to make videos in Washington, D.C. I know. It was so my fault. I really wanted to film there, but I just forgot. Oh, and by the way, my phone, which was what I was recording with. By the way, speaking of which, when I was out in DC, my phone and tablet were both completely dead because I was using them in the car to go all the way to DC on August 8th. So since then, I can now capture any footage on August 8th for DC. I also did not capture anything on the 9th either, which was the second and final day we were in DC. We were in DC for 2 days, August 8th and 9th. did not capture any footage on August 9th either because I obviously forgot to, record. And the only thing I had with me was my phone, but unfortunately, my storage was completely corrupted. So unfortunately, I cannot capture any footage in DC. However, I can tell you what we did. And I'm honestly so glad we did it because it was honestly something that I honestly really, really am glad we did. On August 8th, 2019, which was the day we left New York, the thing we did in Washington, D.C. on that day was, well, I went to see the Lincoln Memorial. What else? I went on the Metro to get between Virginia and Washington, D.C., which was a lot of fun. I went to many other places on August 8th. However, the most action we did was actually on August 9th. So, like I just said before, I went on the Metro to get between Virginia and Washington, D.C. It was actually a lot of fun. I walked around pretty much the city, and it was really, really, really cool to see how awesome it was, as we hadn't seen it for so long, aka 7 years. However, what else we did on August 8th will also be pretty cool to know because, well, all we did on that day was we just saw monuments on August 8th. And let me tell you, even though this did take place after the New York trip ended, I'm still going to include it. Because, let's face it, it kind of still feels like the trip, even though the New York part of it is over, pretty much. Well, as of recording this, the entire trip is over overall for another year, but I'm trying to think, what else did we see on August 8th before I head on to what we saw on August 9th? Oh my god, I can't even remember now. This was 9 days ago. Oh, why can't I remember what monuments we saw in the Lincoln Memorial? That was it. That's literally all I could remember. Seriously, you'd think it was only 9 days ago. Oh, I know. I took a recreation picture of me, like, having my hands up. So it felt like I was holding, like, a monument or something. But in reality, it was just me having, like, my hands up. But my hands were up like I was holding a monument. I took a picture of that to recreate the one I made back in June 2012. And, yeah, that's what we also did on August 8th. I'm really trying to also remember what else we did on August 8th. But if I had to guess, that's clearly all I can remember. But August 9th is way more interesting. And you want to hear what we did on August 9th? Oh, trust me, this was better than August 8th. Let me just make this clear. And this was actually the last thing we did, because immediately on Saturday we went home. But, yeah. Anyway, what we did was on August 9th. Are you ready to hear this? So, where I went on August 9th will probably completely shock you guys, as I honestly never expected to come here to where I went. Are you ready to hear where I went on August 9th in DC, which was the second and final day? So basically, where I went was clearly, I went to George Washington's house / mansion or something, whatever you call it. But not only that, I explored all around there. It was all really cool. Explored around pretty much the entire length. Just checked everything out that belonged to all of that. And it was all really cool. However, not only that, after we did that, I went to a museum all about, I learned a lot about, like, George Washington and stuff. And then after we left that museum, we just left back to our hotel and just stayed there for pretty much the rest of the day, all the way up until Saturday, until we got up on Saturday and officially were on the road all the way back to here, where I am now, my house. The drive took over 13 hours and I think 26 minutes, like 13 hours and 26 minutes to get back from what? From Virginia all the way here to Florida. You're not going to believe how long it took on Saturday. 13 hours and 26 minutes. We officially got back to our house at 11:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, August 10th. I also just realized it is only an hour until then, as it's 10:10 p.m. right now. So we're only an hour away until we officially hit 1 week since we came back to this house. So, yep. That's pretty cool, guys. Oh, and actually, I want to actually add an extra fact into this. So make that 8 facts, like 8 things you did not know about the New York trip 2019, because this one is also quite special. This year's New York trip was the 13th New York trip to occur in the summer. That's right, the 13th New York trip to ever occur in the summer. And I honestly cannot believe how crazy that was, because how is it ironic to believe that how many New York trips have occurred in the past 12 years? And that's so crazy to believe. This was literally, once again, I just said, the 13th New York trip to occur in the summer. Holy frick! But in actual seriousness, so yeah, make that 8 things you didn't know about the New York trip 2019. And guys, with that all being said, that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please remember to like and subscribe. I will see all of you tomorrow for Sunday vlog 90. Whoa! We're only 10 away from 100 starting tomorrow. And by the way, guys, I also want to let you know, tomorrow is actually my last day of summer break, because on Monday the 19th, I go back to school again. So tomorrow is my last day of summer break. I just wanted to let you know. Also, fun fact, this New York trip was a great way to end off my summer break, as we did do the New York trip towards the end of my summer break, if you actually realized. But anyway, aside from that, the other videos I have for you guys tomorrow include Chilling on CPPS episode 74. And finally, but not least, backyard videos for part 2 of Day/Night Sequel 2. Alright, goodbye! Man, this was so much fun to talk about. I cannot wait to tell you guys some awesome stuff next week. It is going to be worth it! Woo! Oh, by the way, sorry if I was quite loud in this video. I apologize, and I hope I not do that next time. Clear?